It's Tanya Imani, and I'm delighted to serve as your MC this morning. As we go through not only 25 years of this commitment, but also look ahead to just what this new architecture needs to look like for the continent. One that is more African-led, one that understands our markets more than ever, one that does not simply describe risks, but truly enables it, well, rather enables finance through it, and one that turns confidence into capital and capital into deployment. We begin this morning with a short video outlining our key achievements, ATIDI's journey, and the milestones we're celebrating today. Let's turn our eyes to the screen.
Africa is a continent of ambition, a continent of builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, visionaries. It was not always seen that way. In the year 2000, Africa attracted less than 1% of global investment. For too many, the opportunity was often overshadowed by perception. Perception of risk, perception of uncertainty, perception that slowed investment and delayed progress. 25 years ago, a bold organization was created to change that. Established as the African Trade Insurance Agency, ATI, the organization was created by African states to address the challenge of perceived risk and help unlock trade, investment, and economic growth across the continent. Its purpose was clear: to transform confidence into action and ambition into reality by helping governments, businesses, and investors navigate risk and unlock opportunities. As Africa's needs evolved and the organization's mandate expanded beyond trade insurance, ATI rebranded in 2023 as the African Trade and Investment Development Insurance, ATIDI, reflecting its broader role in supporting investment, development, and opportunity across the continent. While ATIDI is now the organization's brand identity, it continues to maintain its legal name, the African Trade Insurance Agency.
ATIDI was designed to address the issue of the perception of risk. Perception is always higher than the reality. So to try and address that issue,
turn promising ideas into transformative projects. Projects that power cities, connect markets, strengthen economies, and improve lives.
ATIDI is very efficient from a shareholder's perspective in mobilizing capital.
Because when confidence grows, investment follows. And when investment flows, opportunities multiply. Across sectors, across countries, across generations.
Today, ATIDI has evolved from a mere idea, from a risk perception changing institution, to onboarding over 24 permanent African countries. The rest of the 26 African member countries are already preparing to onboard. ATIDI has 13 institutional investors who are working with us to continuously build, the portfolio and the performance and the relevance of ATIDI. If we look today at the impact in terms of ability to mobilize resources, ATIDI has become a key player in the continent.
The impact can be seen across the continent, in critical infrastructure, in thriving businesses, in expanded access to essential services, in jobs created, communities connected, essential services expanded, and futures transformed. These are not just projects, they are stories of progress, stories made possible through partnership.
As a bank, we were constrained on our capacity to be able to issue these guarantees. But through the support of ATIDI, we were able to arrange a total of $322 million of guarantees, both advance payment guarantees and performance guarantees. So we brought together 4 banks as a lead arranger. BPR was a lead arranger, but we also had the Development Bank of Rwanda, Bank of Kigali, as well as KCB Group. And we brought together the 4 banks, but got a lot of support from ATIDI that provided a de-risking mechanism for us to be able to issue those guarantees. And so we're really proud about the partnership with ATIDI, which enabled us to advance these.
The next chapter has a name: ATIDI 2.0. Supported by continued partner commitment. expanding our footprint and deepening our impact across the continent. Enhanced products, responsive, agile, and built for the realities of today's markets. And a singular focus on what has always driven this organization, turning risk into opportunity. Because risk hasn't disappeared from Africa. It never does. In any market, in any continent, it has simply evolved. And so have we. ATIDI has the track record, the credibility, the stature, the tools to make sure that when investors look at Africa, they don't see a leap of faith. They see a bankable opportunity, investable opportunity.
25 years of partnership, 25 years of confidence, 25 years of impact, and the best is yet to come.
A big round of applause for those 25 remarkable years, which would not have been possible were it not for the founding member states. We'd like to take a moment to recognize and acknowledge the founding member states, Burundi, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. Their early commitment helped create an African institution built to understand risk, manage it, and unlock trade and investment beyond what we could have imagined. In this moment, it is my absolute pleasure to invite to stage Mr. Manuel Moses, Chief Executive Officer of ATIDI, for his statement and presentation. The floor is yours, sir. A round of applause as he comes to stage.
As usual, the mic needs to be adjusted for height. Your Excellency, Professor Kithure Kindiki, the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya, representing His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the President of Kenya. Your Excellency, Dr. Hassan Kibeya, Minister of Trade of the Republic of Burundi, representing His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, the President of Burundi. Your Excellency, Ambassador Winpeg Moyo, representing the President of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emerson Mnangagwa. Honorable Ministers, members of the Diplomatic Corps, shareholders, the members of the Board of Directors of ATIDI, Dr. Sidi Uta, the President of the African Development Bank, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good morning. Welcome to the ATIDI 26th Annual General Meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, this year the AGM is laden with symbols. It marks ATIDI's first Silver Jubilee, the beginning of the close of 25 years of our journey to catalyze investments and support economic emergence. The journey has been one of steady growth, performance, efficiency, and recognition. Focusing on growth, ATIDI was founded by 7 visionary African nations, which have just been mentioned by the previous speaker, including Kenya, that chose to invest in Africa's future at a time when much of the world focused on the continent's challenges rather than on its opportunities. Since then, our organization has grown to 24 member countries, and 14 institutional shareholders today, representing European, African, American, and Asian stakeholders. I would like to take this opportunity to warmly welcome our newest member, shareholder, which is the KfW Development Bank of Germany, for its investment in ATIDI earlier this year, which was a significant vote of confidence in our organization, whilst creating opportunities to mobilize capital and deepen partnership and support investments across the continent. For the last 25 years, our performance has been driven by excellence to commitment, deepening understanding of our markets to save an enduring partnership with our partners who are present in this room. Together, with our unique strengths, our preferred creator status, these qualities have enabled ATIDI to remain a trusted partner and a source of stability through the periods of both growth and uncertainty. Our performance reflects during this commitment that against the backdrop of the continent's global uncertainty and the lingering effects of the COVID pandemic, ATIDI delivered yet another year of resilient growth in 2025. With the strong results in insurance revenue and investment income and total equity, these achievements have further strengthened our ability to fulfill our mandate and to expand across the continent. This year's AGM will validate our results for 2025. I'm confident they will again highlight the steady progress towards the organization's ambitious goals and growing impact in transforming Africa. In 2025, ATIDI recorded strong financial performance with a total exposure of $9.2 billion, up from the $8.9 billion in 2025, and our profit rising by 20% to $71.4 million, and our total assets growing to $1.06 billion, and our total equity increasing by 12% to $883 million. Our performance is a product of continuous improvement and commitment to excellence. The determination to ensure that the highest standards are reflected in every solution we provide, in every transaction we do and support. Beyond our political and credit risk covers, we have carved out products that support critical sectors, including energy transition, cross-border trade, SME development, and support the AU's Agenda 2063, including, of course, implementation of the AfCFTA trade agreements. Our product, the RLSF, which some of you already know, we partnered with KfW, I think they're in the room somewhere, and NORAD, and the Norwegian Development Bank, to provide a liquidity support, which supports small renewable energy projects against risk of delayed payments by off-takers, making them more bankable and viable. These covers, which we call RLSF covers, have enabled 35 megawatts of development for the Menengai project, geothermal project here in Kenya. Beyond RLSF and others, we also did Lake Turkana project earlier on, and also Kipeto in the southern part of Nairobi. On cross-border trade, we are working closely with other DFIs, including Afreximbank, TDB, Comesa, ZEPRI, to introduce what we call the Regional Transport Guarantee Scheme, which also enables cross-border trade in a single guarantee that allows truckers to transition across the region. On SME financing, we are also rolling out portfolio guarantee that allows us to sit between banks and SMEs by providing banks the comfort they need to provide lending to SMEs. Our innovation translates into solutions for renewable and Sharia-compliant products being allowed is to support Sharia and Muharaba financing. And this is starting. We've started already in Nigeria, starting to deploy a Sharia-compliant insurance. So we are continuing to innovate. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond our efficient product lineup, ATIDI's success is anchored in unique assets that contribute to our stable excellence. One of them being the preferred creditor status, which is fundamental to business model, which requires member states, and I'm appealing to you member states, to say when there is a declare, when there is a claim that ATIDI has paid, we urge you to honor the preferred creditor status of ATIDI, because that is the confidence we give to our investors and our clients. I would like to seize the opportunity to salute all our member countries for saying, please honor your PCS to ATIDI for your own good. Ladies and gentlemen, as we close the chapter of the first 25 years, a few points stand out and they come to mind. ATIDI has demonstrated solutions that are often placed to address Africa's unique challenges and opportunities. We have built success on the ability to combine world-class standards with a deep understanding of African markets, designing solutions that reflect local realities whilst meeting the expectations of global investors. This level of expertise and unique features of guarantee mechanisms such as ATIDI are relevant and will be needed at scale. We are also relevant as ever. Indeed, our transformational role in Africa's development is uncontested and a light, simple evolution of the global risk perception. Risk is at our inception. It is still there. It is just there. It is evolving. Risk has not changed. It's just changing its nature. And ATIDI also is evolving with the risk to manage it on a daily basis. This recognition is echoed by the most influential voices in the development community who are increasingly seeing the role of guarantees that they can play in unlocking investments in advancing Africa's ambitious economic development, and delivering on that needs effort. Your Excellency, Professor Kithure Kindiki, thank you for coming. Your Excellency President Ruto and President Macron and the German Chancellor have been endorsing ATIDI. Thank you for the endorsement you did here at the Africa Forward Summit and also at the G7. Through you, you have elevated ATIDI's profile at the global scale. President Sidi, thank you also for your unwavering support. Your endorsement of ATIDI is a testament of the model and the promise that ATIDI provides. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our next chapter, which is ATIDI 2.0, coined ATIDI 2.0 recently, it begins a pivotal moment for Africa, one where the continent is taking greater ownership of its destiny, reshaping its financial architecture to catalyze resources and scale up projects and impact to fuel Africa's economic emergency. This endeavor, which is led by the African Development Bank, we salute the bank's leadership for driving this paradigm shift from a donor-led financing to one where there's equal partnership between the investors and the continent. ATIDI is playing its part in that agenda, and we will spare no effort to support that agenda. The challenges ahead of us remain considerable, but so are also the opportunities across the continent. This growing momentum and stronger institutions are increasing determination of Africa's future through African-led solutions. As part of the effort to bridge development financial gap, ATIDI is committed to transforming this momentum into an opportunity and measurable impact, helping to unlock the vast potential that Africa needs for its economic transformation. We will discuss this exciting perspective during this AGM and beyond. And thank you for being part of these vital deliberations, and we look forward to exchanging ideas with you for the next coming days, and the best is yet to come. So thank you so much for your kind attention, and all the best.
That was really the key phrase. Thank you so much, Mr. Moses, CEO, for outlining some of the key achievements that you've done. And really what stays with us is that the best is yet to come. This is movement towards enabling more domestic capital. And we're going to hear more from our chair of the board, Mr. Professor Kelly Moa Kingsley, chair of the board of ATIDI. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving him a big round of applause as he comes to stage. Thank you.
Thank you. As it's always the case after Manuel, the microphone has to be adjusted to size and not height. Professor Kithure Kindiki, Vice President of Kenya, I want to stand on the established protocol by Manuel Moses. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great privilege to welcome you to the 26th Annual General Meeting of ATIDI, to address you at this particular significant moment in our institution's history. As we celebrate at our Silver Jubilee, this year 2026 marks 25 years since the establishment of ATIDI. It is an occasion to celebrate our achievements, honor the vision and leadership of those who laid the foundation of this institution. And it is a moment to reflect on the lessons that continue to shape our journey. For me, one lesson stands out above all. When people ask me what I believe in Africa is Africa's greatest asset, some will say our critical minerals. Others will point to our youthful population, our fertile lands, our strategic location, or our immense renewable energy potential. All of these are extraordinary advantages. Yet, after many years in public finance, international financial markets, I have come to a different conclusion. Africa's greatest asset is confidence. Because when people believe in a country's future, they invest. When investors believe, businesses grow. When businesses grow, jobs are created. And when jobs are created, families prosper and nations flourish. 25 years ago, the founders of ATIDI understood this simple but powerful truth. They recognized that Africa's development challenges would not be solved by capital alone. Capital follows confidence. They understood that our continent needed institutions capable of understanding Africa's realities, mitigating risk, strengthening investors' confidence, and unlocking opportunities in ways that reflect the aspirations of our countries and the countries they serve. That vision gave birth to ATIDI. Over the past quarter century, ATIDI has demonstrated the strength of that vision. What began as an ambitious African initiative has become one of the continent's most respected multilateral financial institutions. Together with our member states, shareholders, and partners, we have helped mobilize billions of dollars in trade and investments while strengthening economic resilience across Africa. We have shown that institutions built by Africa for Africa can meet the highest international standards while remaining firmly rooted in our continent's needs. We have shown that Africa is stronger and powerful when it depends solely on its context, its needs, rooted in its foundation. There is an African proverb that says, wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it all alone. ATIDI is a testament to that wisdom. Our success has never belonged to one country, one shareholder, or one institution. It has always been the product of partnership, shared purpose, and collective responsibility. And today, with the shared vision of the African Development Bank that has boosted and projected and taken our vision to a higher height, Africa has a reason to dream. Ladies and gentlemen, the world we operate in today is rapidly changing. Global capital is becoming more selective. Supply chains are being reconfigured. Artificial intelligence is transforming industries. Climate change is reshaping investment priorities. Geopolitical developments are redefining economic relationships and creating new centers of growth. At the same time, Africa's importance to the global economy has never been greater. By 2050, 1 in every 4 people in the world will be African. Our continent holds approximately 30% of the world's known critical mineral reserves, possesses vast renewable energy resources, and is home to one of the world's fastest growing consumer markets. Yet Africa still faces an infrastructure financing gap estimated at between US 100 billion and US 100 billion and US 170 billion annually. These figures should not be seen as a measure of Africa's challenge alone. They are a measure of Africa's opportunity. In this environment, institutions such as ours have an increasingly important role to play. Our responsibility is not simply to support transactions, it is to strengthen the confidence, to reduce barriers to investment, to help create the conditions in which businesses can grow, economies can prosper, and development ambitions can become a reality.
People often describe ATIDI as a risk mitigating institution. True, of course. Others describe us as a guarantor. That is equally true. But I believe our purpose is even greater. We are in the business of building confidence. Our guarantees are the instrument. Confidence is the outcome. And sustainable development is the ultimate impact. It is therefore encouraging that this model is increasingly recognized beyond our continent. We are honored to see ATIDI referenced by His Excellency President William Ruto during the G7 summit and acknowledged in the G7 summit leaders' declaration on mutually beneficial international partnerships. We welcome this recognition with humility, not simply because it celebrates ATIDI, but because it reflects growing confidence in African institutions and African-led solutions. As another African proverb reminds us, rain does not fall on one roof alone. The opportunities before Africa and indeed the responsibilities they bring belong to all of us. As a board, we are proud of what ATIDI has achieved over the past 25 years. But anniversaries are not only moments for reflection, they are moments for renewal. The next chapter of our journey will require us to continue innovating, strengthening our financial resilience, and responding to the evolving needs of member states and stakeholders. It will require us to preserve the trust we have earned while agile in a world that is changing faster than ever before. The discussions we begin during this annual General Assembly are therefore about much more than governance. They are about positioning ATIDI for the future and ensuring that we continue to make a meaningful contribution to Africa's economic transformation for decades to come. Before I conclude, allow me to express my sincere gratitude to our shareholders for your continued trust and commitment. I thank my fellow board members for their stewardship and guidance, and commend our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Manuel Moses, and the team, together with the entire staff of ATIDI, for their dedication, professionalism, and unwavering commitments to our shared vision. Ladies and gentlemen, 25 years ago, ATIDI was founded on a belief that African solutions could unlock African opportunities. Today, that belief has become an institution respected around the world. Tomorrow, it must become an even stronger catalyst for transformation. Let us therefore use this anniversary not simply to celebrate what we have achieved, but to renew our commitment to what is still possible. Because development begins with confidence. Confidence inspires investments. Investments create opportunity, and opportunity changes lives. Confidence remains Africa's most valuable asset. Thank you all for having answered the call, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Chair Kingsley. As we proceed, we would like to share with you that we have translation headsets available for you. You will find English on channel 1 and French on channel 5. Avant de procéder, nous voulons partager avec vous que nous avons des casques de traduction. Vous trouverez sur le numéro 1 la chaîne en anglais et sur le 5 en français. Now, as we proceed, it is my distinct honor to welcome to stage for remarks His Excellency Erastus Mwencha, former African Union Deputy Chair and COMESA Secretary General. Let's give him a very warm round of applause as he comes to stage.
It is my singular honor this morning to see this hall full but also to see so many distinguished leaders from across the world. And so I'm overwhelmed because my role is simply just to take you to the beginnings. Your Excellency, Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki, may I also recognize the President of the African Development Bank, various honorable ministers, those representing heads of state and government, my dear brother, President of Trade and Development Bank, my brother Emmanuel, I am simply honored and privileged to share this joy that I have this morning, just to take you to the beginning. At the turn of the millennium, the world looked at Africa and saw a prohibitive risk. ATIDI was born out of a bold aspiration within COMESA to support investors courageous enough to engage a continent then unfairly duped as hopeless. The entire continent then attracted a paltry 17 billion in foreign direct investment. Today, we celebrate 25 years of proving the skeptics wrong, having unlocked over 93 billion in trade and investment across our continent. This financial powerhouse did not just emerge overnight. The spark originated with the COMESA clearinghouse. When this concept was brought to us during my tenure as Secretary General of COMESA, the underlying philosophy was clear. Africans are best placed to manage African risk. We took the proposals to the COMESA Council of Ministers, then directly to the heads of state and government. It was not easy. Back then, and I believe it is the case now, the idea of political risk was not well understood. But through that persistent and encouragement, the political will was solidified and a historic launch took place in the year 2001 under the stewardship of President Yoweri Museveni, who hosted that first ATIDI, and ATIDI then was born. ATIDI now has blossomed from just a baby to become a prime development insurer. African member states lacked the immediate capital to fund the required liquidity. So a central banking architecture came into action to navigate meager. And I should say here that when we approached the World Bank, and of course the World Bank group, MEGA is one of the institutions which is part of the World Bank. MEGA felt that ATIDI could not be supported because ATIDI was going to be in the same environment where MIGA plays, and that is providing political risk. And so to navigate that scenario, we persuaded the World Bank to give us resources just simply to stay within the context of trade. And that's why the original name of ATIDI was ATI, Africa Trade Insurance Agency. But when we started operations, it was clear from the market that that product was not viable. So we had to go back to the World Bank and convince the World Bank together with MIGA that they allow us just to write risks, investment risks of short term, of at least below 10 years. And so they agreed. And we managed then to acquire more products for ATIDI. And so the Commercial Council of Ministers and governors of central banks then went back to the World Bank because the member states didn't even have the capital to be able to start a seed capital for ATIDI. And so we managed, together with the World Bank, to secure AIDA credit. And that was not also easy, particularly to convince the rest of the world to give us an AIDA credit so that we could start. And as, of course, the story now goes, when we secured that credit, that brought credibility. And others then followed. The African Development Bank was one of those that came in very strongly, followed for the Trade and Development Bank, SEBRI and others, and many other institutions and came in, Menukiri and the others. I tell this story because lest we forget where we have come from. Sometimes it's good to remember the journey that we have traveled today here. I had the privilege of steering the ship as interim managing director while I was still holding my portfolio as Secretary General of Commerce. And during that time, with the strong support that we got from the World Bank, we laid the firm foundation of operational frameworks that kept our mandate tethered to the African Industrial Association that we had embarked on to support. We went to the Lloyd's market to recruit a managing director who replaced me. And the reason we did that was to bring expertise, but also confidence to the rest of the world. Thereafter, we turned to MIGA, who gave us another managing director. And thereafter, we also went to Africa Re. This was done consciously in order to institutionalize the multilateral character of ATI. An institution, as you know, is as good as its leaders. This intentional succession transformed ATI from a regional initiative into a globally respected credit and political risk insurer. May I use this occasion to present our deep appreciation, particularly to Moses, my brother Manuel Moses, who also came to us with experience from IFC, for his leadership and for taking ATIDI to a new level. As it has been said here before, in mid-2023, ATI rebranded to ATIDI, signaling maturity into a truly Pan-African institution. Today, ATIDI is a respected, highly credible player, posting solid results as we have seen from the MD this morning. ATIDI has also been, as you have been told, expanded from 7 founding members of COMESA nation into a coalition of 24 African member states alongside global partners such as the Export and Import Bank of India, Germany's KfW, and the rest, as you have been told. And one of our biggest assets, as it has been pointed out this morning, is for ATIDI maintaining a stable rating from Standard & Poor and also A2 from Moody's, and thus leveraging on this advantage, making it possible for ATIDI that for every $1 that ATIDI is able to secure, this alone can be multiplied 10 times, and thus bringing in more capital into a region. Within COMESA itself, ATIDI has covered over 1,200 transactions representing over 38 billion of investment in agriculture, in infrastructure, in telecommunications, transport, and financial services. ATIDI portfolio includes modernizing. I had this minister from Burundi representing His Excellency the President. You may wish to know that the Burundi brewery is one of those projects supported by ATIDI. But also, I don't know whether we have a representative from Ethiopia. The Ethiopian airline, one of the best airlines in the world, is one of those that ATIDI has invested in. And also, just to mention some of the sectors, how deep down ATIDI has been, is to providing clean water to the people in Angola. In Kenya, our historic host carries the largest net exposure of over 1 billion in domestic investments, including green energy and the financial sector. The question I want to ask this morning, should the persistence of risk in Africa worry us today, as it did then at the turn of the century? The answer is emphatically no. Risk is inherent to every business decision and business unusual. This is, as it has been stated here, become a new global norm. Because of the institutional bedrock built over 25 years, global investors no longer need a blind leap of faith to deploy capital in Africa. ATIDI is now endorsed at the highest levels as essential to reforming Africa's financial architecture. We salute the FDP president for the new African financial architecture, NAFAD, which identifies risk guarantees as primary pillar of attracting investment to the region at an unprecedented scale. Let me now, as I conclude, just have a small view to the future. Yes, we have spent 25 years, but the next 25 years, as it was in 25 years ago, the world called ensuring trade and investment in Africa an unsustainable gamble. Together, we provided that managing African risk is among the most secure, counter-cyclical, and lucrative investment in the global economy. In other words, we changed what was then a risk to an investment opportunity. As we step into the next chapter, let us collectively work to achieve and maintain ATIDI's preferred credit status, because this is a critical asset that we have and we should not let it go. And I think the MD has made a plea this morning about it. Thank you to everyone who held a pen to draft our founding treaties, and it's complex, by the way. Everyone who sat in those tough negotiations, in the negotiation rooms of the World Bank, and millions of entrepreneurs whose bold dreams we secure every day. To the government of Kenya, thank you for your steadfast support and unwavering commitment to ATIDI. In fact, the government of Kenya gave us accommodation right from day one, when we didn't even have a place where to go, and has remained so. We salute His Excellency the President, William Samoei Ruto, for his strong advocacy for ATIDI at the African Forward Summit and the G7 Summit, and his generous donation of land for the development of ATIDI's permanent headquarters. To the African Development Bank and the government of Kenya, thank you for your continued commitment to strengthening ATIDI through the enhanced shareholding. To African member states, thank you for the trust and confidence that has enabled ATIDI to grow into one of Africa's leading multilateral providers of investment and trade solutions. The future of ATIDI lies not only in mitigating risk, but in mobilizing private capital at scale, while systematically reducing sovereign exposure, enabling member governments to protect their national debt ceilings, while we help bridge Africa's first infrastructure and development financing gap. ATIDI, together with other continental financial institutions, constitute a critical mass that will spur the development of Africa Continental Free Trade Area and also Agenda 23 aspirations. With continued support of AU member states, shareholder, development partners, and private sector investors, ATIDI will remain a trusted partner in shaping Africa's economic future. Long live ATIDI, and may we continue to rise together. Thank you for your kind audience.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We will now be joined, and it is my absolute honor to welcome to stage Dr. Chris Kipto, CBS Permanent Secretary at the National Treasury and Economic Planning for the Republic of Kenya, representing FCPA Honorable John Mbadi Dongo, Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning for the Republic of Kenya. A round of applause as he comes to stage.
Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and our chief guest this morning, Honorable Ministers of Finance from ATIDI member states, all distinguished shareholders led by President Sidi Ta of the African Development Bank, and may I write on all the already established protocol. I am here to speak on behalf of my minister, John Mbadi, who, due to unforeseen circumstances, could not join us this morning. So, may I say good morning to everyone. Habari zenu. It's with great pleasure and honor to welcome you on behalf of the government of Kenya to Nairobi for the 2026 annual general meeting of the ATIDI. Ladies and gentlemen, the 26th annual general meeting of ATIDI comes at a moment of particular significance for both our institution and our continent. We meet at a time when the global economy continues to navigate a complex landscape characterized by geopolitical tensions, trade fragmentation, climate-related disruptions involving financial conditions, and heightened uncertainty in capital markets. Despite these challenges, African economies continue to demonstrate resilience and determination in pursuing sustainable growth and structural transformation. Across the continent, governments are undertaking strategic reforms aimed at strengthening macroeconomic stability, improving fiscal sustainability, expanding domestic resource mobilization, and creating an enabling environment for private investment. Above all, our economies are putting appropriate measures to uplift the living standards of our citizens, as this is the ultimate goal of each of our governments. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya's economy has similarly remained resilient. Our growth over the last 5 years has been averaging 5%, supported by favorable weather conditions, strong agricultural performance, continued expansion in services, climate-smart investments, and ongoing implementation of government's development priorities. And I will skip a number of variables that are in this speech just to save time. But I just want to say that I'm proud to inform that ATIDI's engagement in Kenya, just like other member states, closely complements the country's long-term economic transformation priorities. The government's development strategy is increasingly focused on unlocking private sector-led growth through investments in productive sectors. Achieving transformation in our nations and in the continent at large requires all of us to pursue not only our sound economic management, but also innovative mechanisms capable of reducing investment risks and improving investment environment. In this regard, institutions such as ATIDI are becoming indispensable partners in bridging the gap between investment opportunities and available capital. By mitigating political, sovereign, and commercial risks, ATIDI enables both domestic and international investors to participate more confidently in projects that generate employment, expand productive capacity, and generate employment and strengthen economic competitiveness. ATIDI continues to work closely with the government of Kenya on a number of strategic initiatives aimed at deepening investment flows and strengthening financial resilience. The collaboration is increasingly focused on practical and high-impact areas that directly support Kenya's development financing agenda. This includes support for sovereign liquidity and liability management operations to enhance fiscal sustainability, the expansion of public-private partnerships, and privatization frameworks to mobilize private capital into infrastructure and service delivery. The advancement of renewable energy financing, particularly geothermal development projects such as Menengai under structured risk-sharing facilities, and the development of SME guarantee frameworks in collaboration with the National Treasury and the Central Bank of Kenya to expand access to finance and strengthen credit markets. I want to confirm that the rest of what is in the speech of the minister is going to be spoken more in the speech by the Deputy President. So in order to save time, I will stop here. Thank you very much. So I have been asked to now take this opportunity to invite His Excellency, the Deputy President of Kenya, Professor Kithure Kindiki. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Good morning, please be seated. Sorry, Chris, you have had to interrupt your speech. Good morning. I am also standing in for the President of Kenya, William Ruto, therefore my remarks will be shorter than he would have spoken, but I'll still say the highlights of what he would have spoken if he was here today. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and all the dignitaries present, I am very happy to be part of this very important gathering, the 26th AGM of ATIDI. On behalf of William Ruto, the President of Kenya, I welcome heads of delegation, ministers, shareholders, development partners, members of the diplomatic corps, and all the other guests. Karibuni sana Nairobi. This gathering is not just the 26th AGM, it's also the Silver Jubilee for this very important institution for our continent. Kenya is honored to be associated with this milestone. And as we have heard from Erastus Mwencha, former Deputy AU Commission Chair, this journey started a quarter century ago when some visionaries thought that it was time to not only write our own story ourselves, but also to tell it. And to tell it not by saying, but by doing. And that is how this great institution was founded. Today, that vision has become a remarkable African success story. ATIDI has evolved into one of the continent's most credible multilateral financial institutions, providing innovative risk mitigation solutions that strengthen investor confidence, facilitate trade, and catalyze sustainable development. I associate with the sentiment of the chair of the ATIDI board when he just told us that beyond the assets of this continent that we repeatedly acclaim, namely a youthful population, arable land, natural resources, strategic location of the continent, and a huge potential for renewable energies resources. Beyond those 5 assets, the asset of confidence in our continent is perhaps much more greater than the resources and the advantages that we have. Africa stands at a defining moment in its development journey. We are progressively moving forward from dependence on externally driven development models towards greater self-reliance, stronger regional integration, and African-led financing institutions. Institutions such as ATIDI are central to this transformation because sustainable development requires confidence, confidence requires predictable institutions, and investment thrives where risk is effectively managed. As you are aware, President William Ruto has been one of the leaders of this continent who have been very clear that going forward, we must not only push for the reform of the global financial architecture, but we must also create African regional financial architecture that underwrites African development, not only in terms of mobilizing resources, but also being able to underwrite risk and be able to give confidence to investors. Ladies and gentlemen, ATIDI continues to demonstrate that de-risking investment is one of the most effective ways of attracting long-term capital investment into African economies. Over the last 25 years, the institution has facilitated billions of dollars in trade and investment across the continent, while supporting governments and businesses to navigate political, commercial, and sovereign risks. that has benefited this continent. Kenya has benefited as well from its partnership with ATIDI. Over the past 2 years alone, ATIDI has facilitated $960 million in trade and investment in this country. And I'm sure the story is the same for many of our other countries represented here. Cumulatively, ATIDI has supported investments across energy, transport, manufacturing, financial services, agriculture, and even infrastructure amounting to $7 billion. Flagship projects, just to mention a few for this country, and I'm sure there are many in your own countries. In this country, some of the flagship projects supported by ATIDI include the Lake Turkana Wind Power Project, the Kipeto Wind Power Project, the Menengai Geothermal Development Project, and all these projects cumulatively have been able to deliver or will be delivering 500,000 households, will be delivering clean energy to over 500,000 households in this country. Kenyan households, and this demonstrates how solutions generated on this continent can transform our continent. I also want to mention that the government of Kenya believes in transforming society from the bottom of the economic pyramid upwards, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which recognizes that public resources alone cannot finance our development aspirations. We therefore continue to strengthen the investment climate so that we can attract private resources to help us transform our society faster and better. We continue to strengthen the investment climate by maintaining macroeconomic stability, implementing regulatory reforms, expanding infrastructure, supporting enterprise development, and deepening regional trade integration. Looking ahead, Africa must continue strengthening its own financial architecture, greater collaboration among African multilateral financial institutions, stronger regional guarantee mechanisms, and innovative financing solutions will enable our countries to mobilize affordable capital while reducing dependence on financing. Kenya, therefore, welcomes ongoing efforts to establish stronger continental guarantee mechanisms under African leadership. Such initiatives will complement existing institutions, expand investor confidence, and accelerate the implementation of transformational projects across our continent. The future belongs to a continent that believes in itself, invests in its institutions, and creates an enabling environment for enterprise to flourish. ATIDI embodies these values and demonstrates that African institutions can deliver world-class solutions to African challenges. As member states and shareholders, let us continue to strengthen ATIDI through sustained commitment, adequate capitalization, and strategic partnerships. I'm grateful to the ADB. I am told you have multiplied your stake in this institution 5 times. President, we thank you for that investment and that vote of confidence in our own, one of our own institutions. Together we can unlock greater investment, create jobs, expand intra-African trade, and improve the lives of our people. Kenya reaffirms its unwavering commitment to working with ATIDI and all member states to build resilient economies that are competitive, inclusive, and sustainable. I thank the board, management, shareholders, and development partners for their steadfast support over the past 25 years, and hope that through this AGM, we are going to figure out how we navigate the future in increasingly uncertain world, as because of the geopolitical and other variables that come into play in this point in time. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as we look into the future, we must carry the people of Africa alongside with us. We must deliberately be inclusive, include women, include the young people of our continent as we look for solutions that transform the critical sectors of our economies. Into the future, we must create an environment that promotes and gives confidence to investments, and we must believe in our continent. Into the future, we must also be able, for those of us who are in political leadership, ensure long-term stability as one of the variables that are able to help ATIDI and other institutions to achieve the very noble objectives that they have for our continent. And looking into the future also, for policymakers, we must ensure policy continuity, because in the past, this continent has suffered from policy disruption, lack of continuity. You have a program that runs for a while. When there is change in leadership, that program is disrupted without any economic considerations. So those are some of the things that we must look at and ensure that we support as member states. We support ATIDI and the business community to be able to help us navigate the future as a continent. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to declare the 26th AGM of the African Trade and Investment Development Insurance Agency, Insurance, officially open. Thank you very much, and God bless Africa.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those poignant remarks. As we prepare the stage to be set up for our panel discussion, we'd like to invite you to turn your attention to the screen to watch a short video about ATIDI's 25-year timeline and our important milestones.